I do consider myself a sort of maximalist artist, in that I try to throw as much information into an object as it can physically handle. You can see me surrounded by my archive here. I have everything sort of arranged according to species, genus, size, color. You know, this is my stack of noses, for instance, which I'm working on right now. It's mostly big noses, tiny noses. I have a section of eyes, a section of mouths, a section of ears, and various body parts, as well as plants, many of which I grow in my backyard. Each one of these illustrations was either photographed or laboriously drawn by someone else. And I take these little bits, often removing them from their original context and using just an infinitesimal amount, and put them in my work. So I sort of feel like there's this sort of buzz of the collective world that I live in. See here. It looks like you got a ton of Vioxx, which, you know, you can't use anymore because it kills people, apparently. Singular, square. I don't have a lot of square tablets, so. A lot of the objects in my work, the pills, the pot, maybe the shape of psychedelia, may operate in a Proustian sense, that these things are sort of functioning as Madelines to the viewer. They sort of reawaken maybe a sense memory of when their minds were once scrambled. I had this background in working with resin from making surfboards in Southern California, and thought that maybe that might be a material that could sort of encapsulate these ephemeral objects or stabilize them over time. What I found was that I also love the seductive finish of the resin. These are something like vehicles to transport you to other places, and these sort of shiny finishes of these objects sort of reminded me of cars and surfboards, other vehicles, if you will, that transport you to other places.
I have to be really meticulous about the surface at this stage. Every square inch I have to have the torch run over it.
So I'm painting Sweat right now. Sort of trying to kind of create the idea that he's, sort of falling. So I'm sort of like it's almost like a cartoon in that, these little directional lines are coming off of his body. Sort of, the idea being that he's going this way. This work is for a show that's going to be at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles, and the show is entitled Ecstasy. The title has to do with both the emotional state of the ecstatic, and also, I think we'll sort of deal with the ramifications of MDMA, the drug that is known as ecstasy. It's great to bring this piece to this show and have it be seen by a lot of people. Since it is a work that's about collectivism and about crowds and about losing yourself in the crowd, it'll be very interesting to see what the crowd does with this. I really would ideally like people to have a transcendental experience with the work. So in that regard, I think of these works as both a window into another world and a mirror to the world that we live in. Paintings are interesting receptacles of time. I spent 6 months making this work, but when people walk up and look at it, they see it all in an instant, and then they move on.